A seasonal contest pits two competitors in a fight to the finish. But nature interrupts their competitive bloodlust with a terrifying surprise of her own. Fueled by whimsical memories of youthful vigor and black box pharmaceuticals, Roth protects himself and his work with hate, the good kind, and high-powered firearms. His adversary, Lucifer, brings little more to the contest than a spade and dismissive, self-righteous contempt. Residents from several neighborhoods gather. A pharmacist is belittled. An old man's sanity is questioned. Somali immigrants celebrate. A Seminole family's revelation is revealed. And a bloody contest none could have predicted nor seen in their most deranged nightmares unfolds. The neighborhood, nay, the country, will never be the same. Taking slow, deep breaths, Roth fought to master himself. He hated Lucifer with a passion he had for years, yet the appearance of the groundhogs last summer had exacerbated the rivalry, which, in truth, was born of a competition between thumbs. Green thumbs, that is. Each had endeavored to best the other year after year, and as the arms race, the boughs race continued, so rose the stakes. Roth observed that Lucifer, perched in an Adirondack chair on his porch, watched the unpacking procession with a dismay that bordered on horror as Roth extracted a bandolier from the trunk. He knew Lucifer was a gunophobe, that he had worked tirelessly while in Washington to support the passage of legislation that would disarm victims. Who else can be disarmed but the people who obey the law? Relishing every moment of discomfort he was causing Lucifer, Roth slowly wrapped the bandolier around his chest, making sure the grinning magazines caught the light of the frowning sun. Then, as slowly as he could, he withdrew his shiny tool from the Jag's curvaceous trunk, savoring every inch, watching Lucifer's face darkened with desperation as the glistening shaft grew longer and longer, and yes, longer. Slinging the semi-automatic AR-15 over his shoulder, Roth peeked under his overgrown brow at Lucifer, who was now on his feet, knobby knees knocking, pages from his newspaper languidly fluttering from his trembling hand. The sun had just gone down, and Roth was getting ready for bed when he heard a loud thunk in the back of his house, and then another, and then another, and maybe another, but really his hearing wasn't that good anymore. He quickly stumbled toward the back of his house, vehemently cussing the shouts of pain that sprang from every one of his crepitating joints. Losing his balance, he caromed off the hallway wall, loosing pitchers from their moorings like icicles cascading from a gable. Turning a bend, he bounced off an end table, sending a family heirloom crashing to the floor. "I never liked that side of the family," he grumbled, still hustling toward the ruckus. After slamming the banana clip into place with a great metallic click, Roth stuck the barrel of the gun through the window and opened fire. The bright muzzle flash lit up the whole backyard like a bright muzzle flash. In a nearby neighborhood, Somali immigrants cheered the discordant crackle of fully automatic gunfire, just like home. Unpublished reviews. Nothing can keep this magnificent story from becoming a #1 New York Times bestseller. Its author gave the paper's editor-in-chief an offer he couldn't refuse. New York Times. I laughed so hard, I wet my Huggies. Active, over 50. Beaux esprits won't nictitate while imbibing this Dionysian tale, but they may horripilate. The author must be immune to exorodespotism or azygophrenia to have poetized such a mordant tale. Abstruse, hippopotamonstro, sesquipedalian, quarterly. We knew the author would go far. We're so proud. Monthly newsletter, Eastern State Psychiatric Penitentiary. And we have rolled in. Can everybody hear me okay? The roll in going free. Let me make sure, I guess the microphone is the right microphone, because sometimes it likes to play that trick on me. But no, it appears to be the right microphone. Great to see everyone with us here. Our dear sweet sister Carlisle Cockatoo is with us. And so is Jonash and Mr. Fookers and the great Fornal and Devo Archangel. Great to see you, Dan, and Azimuth Clark. We're going to try to make this one a brief going free. Talk about a few of the things maybe that we didn't get very much time to talk about during PWR and some other things. I want to get right into the fact that we received on Sunday while we were live, didn't know it, an anonymous, didn't know it at the time. Get your raucous emojis out, everybody, because of the successes that just continue to mount left and right in service to white well-being. We received a financial gift of $1,000 US, an anonymous gifter of $1,000 US. Let's get a big raucous round of emojis, please, 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 for this magnificent hero, whoever this is, who financially gifted $1,000 during Sunday's stream, which, of course, as you know, was a roller coaster of a stream. We were celebrating the magnificent victory of getting the powerful concept anti-whiteism into the eyes and ears of more than 2 million people. Who knows how far that will go? Each of those people have an opportunity to pick that concept up and then use it in their lives, and the opportunity there for it to spread as a curative contagion for our people and really make a difference in the world, really change things, grows exponentially. And so thank you so very much for recognizing the hard work, the success, the changes that we are making in the world, the victories that we continue to have. And this in stark contrast to the failures and the setbacks and the misery that other endeavors are leading folks to. And that is something that is such a stark contrast. It goes, the silence from other people is deafening on this issue. So it falls to us to speak the truth to the ears of those who have the power to be saved, to bring the text to those who have the eyes to be saved. We will be there for them. And this is a grand testimonial of $1,000 during that roller coaster of a stream. Very challenging. We went into it, as I said, this past Sunday, celebrating the magnificent victory and talking about Kyle Rittenhouse as well. And then we had this situation in Waukesha, Wisconsin, which is a very white Republican suburb city of Milwaukee. And perhaps chosen, we don't know. We're going to wait for the court to finally say. When the court rules, we will let you know what they rule, and we will let you know what the opinions of other people have with regard to that. But we receiving the news about an individual at that time, and more has come out about that individual and his potential aims, motives, and we're seeing what is being said elsewhere. So we will give you, as I hope over the course of this hour, the information of all of the sides that are being discussed when it comes to the what many are calling a terrorist, anti-white terrorist attack on Western Kind in Waukesha, Wisconsin. And but could be wrong. We'll let the courts and CNN, and maybe the courts will just defer to CNN. That's probably what will happen. And if you have any questions about the previous conversation that we had moments ago on PWR, over the past 2 hours, we were with Woodlander, and seemed like a heck of a great guy, very interesting. If you have any questions about that, we can address those as well while we are here. So I guess the first thing is that I want to do, and then get to some of the things that we missed on Sunday, is that, and please share the URL. Please share it in your circles. The information that we share is novel. It is revolutionary. It is a revolution of the mind. It is literally a revolution of thought, literally. And it putting us in our own story with proven concepts that continue to be built upon, that continue to be purified, if you will, distilled even further for greater effectiveness. And so we need our brothers and sisters to receive this message, these concepts, as quickly as we can, because we never know what tomorrow holds for us. We need to always be pushing in the productive direction, especially now. So this is a really poignant time that we, on Sunday, and now the Charlottesville verdict came in yesterday. Is that right? Can somebody correct me if I'm wrong there? Did it come in yesterday? And let me also bring this screen back around and make sure it's working fine. A big hello to everybody who is over there on Odysee. I see. Who is over there? Crazy Cat and Popcorn Power. Says sound is good. I guess somebody was having some bad sound quality at some point. And Artabach, Promethean, the great Promethean healing is with us over there on D Live. Everything else seems to be working okay. Entropy is working okay. So if you have any questions or comments that you want to put in the question comment widget over there, you can while we're together. Of course, you can financially gift while on Entropy and on Cash App. I'll make sure that I don't miss any financial gifts while we are together. And as usual, if I miss any, if someone comes in late, I'll get it at the next Going Free. And of course, you can financially gift with cryptocurrency. And that can be done by going over to knowwhyguilt.org and click on the financial gift tab. And there you will find the addresses to which you may financially gift a cryptocurrency. And please do so before the cryptocurrency that you favor decides to take a crash, because it is very valuable. It can still do good now, but might not be able to do much good tomorrow or next week. They're volatile that way. As I'm talking about this, I have a question about a fake plant. The plant is real. It is a peace lily, and it is quite real. It looks, I guess it looks fake to you because it's so healthy, but that's my skill, I guess. And then, of course, a ridiculous question after that. And let me swivel around here and make sure that we have this up and running as well. It does appear to be. The great Reptile is with us, ladies and gentlemen. He says, Promethean hails, brother. Well, a big Promethean hails to you as well. A real champion. And in fact, I think we have some Reptile comments to share in just a little bit. So I really want to point out, so on Sunday, on Sunday, we were sharing a colossal victory. And that colossal victory was, of course, Mark Dice using Antiwhitism, a liberating concept, one of our key concepts. Anti-white, Antiwhitism, they're going hand in hand. We are making it happen. The champions in this community: Western kind, white erasure, and anti-white narrative. These are the 5 key concepts. There are many others in the practice of going free of the anti-white narrative that you will use to liberate yourself from the anti-white narrative, from the MPs, the anti-white ideas. If saying MP or remembering MP is somehow hard for you, even though you can remember woke like this and the next name they give to themselves like this, well, then just say an anti-white idea, an anti-white concept. And you have to treat yourself for those because they don't go away any easier than learning or than unlearning how to drive a car, ride a bicycle. So you need these concepts to go free. You need to share these concepts for our people to go free and to be able to reclaim our destiny. And we are throttled. And that means, of course, that it doesn't matter what platform we get onto at this point. The anti-whites, they've had the time that they needed. They have the money, the personnel, etc. They have the ability to throttle us wherever we show up. And so they will continue to do so. And this has always been the case. This ability to be able to speak to a sizable portion of the population unfiltered was just a blip and was always going to go away. And therefore, we needed something that was different, something that was, again, revolutionary. We have that with the concepts in Going Free. So we need to share these. They are unlike the other things that you might be used to sharing if you're new to Going Free. If you're inside the anti-white narrative, you're used to doing things like perpetrator, the perp walk, and talking to folks about all the people that are behind it, and naming them their races or their party or whatever it might be. You might be used to talking with people about revisionist history. All of that is garbage. Why do I say it's garbage? Because it's failed. Your whole life, your parents' whole life, your grandparents' whole lives, it failed. So if it's failing and that's all it does, in my opinion, it's garbage. You might not think it's garbage, but I want to recapture our destiny. There is a different way, a successful way. And what we need to do, and what we are doing and continue to do on individual basis and with teams, etc., we are reaching out and we are using the concepts, and the concepts are adopted because they serve the users. It's a selfish thing. You see, you want to wed the selfishness of the individual with the well-being of the group, the well-being of the individual with the well-being of the group. And so we get Mark Dice, and we get these others, Poole, and these others who have a large audiences, more than large enough to begin to seed these concepts into the population. And by doing so, we change the narrative, and the anti-whites are forced to operate in that narrative, one in which they appear as the villain, and then they have to attempt to build reasons, excuses for victimizing us. And appearing as the villain is not something that white anti-whites or even non-white anti-whites are going to want to do. And we've proven that again and again. So it was a magnificent victory, to have Mark Dice say to 2+ million people is what it's going to end up being, Antiwhitism. And people have no problem figuring out what that is. It makes perfect sense. They will be able to use it. They will be using it in their lives. It makes a huge difference. We are in the midst of having that victory, celebrating that victory. And what happens 2 days later, if it was indeed Tuesday that the verdict came in, one day, maybe 2 days later, the verdict came in. The other approaches of playing the villain, the antagonist in the anti-white narrative, what we are critical about, and through me have been critical about for decades, but for all of us who are in the practice of going free, critical about for a great many years, different folks, different lengths of time, and different levels of passion. We've been critical about it because It ruins the lives of those who play those roles, and it undermines our efforts to recapture our destiny, and it ends up harming us further by proving the anti-white narrative, proving it, and therefore giving the leeway that anti-whites in office, in police departments, giving them the leeway they want and they need from the population to get them to look the other way when there are excesses, when they move beyond the law, when they move to extremes. The population looks the other way. And we've been talking about this for a very long time. And the first thing I want to do here is I want to congratulate every single one of you who, by your own volition, your own just awareness, your own introspection, your own study of the context that we live in, have arrived at a same or similar conclusion than we have here. And I want to congratulate everybody who has adopted the practice of going free after hearing what we have, the arguments, the reason and logic that we bring to bear on these subjects. We want to congratulate all of those. Everyone who has looked at the evidence and has seen, well, this is the outcome. It happens again and again. What Jason is arguing is absolutely right. So I want to congratulate every single one of you who have adopted the practice of going free, the service to white well-being, who have come to a place of love, focus on our people, away from where you were before. Maybe you were benighted. Maybe you were playing the antagonist in that story and you were hating on other groups of people, and that's what you did all the time. I want to congratulate you. I want to thank you. You are the example. You are the exemplars that the rest of our people need to learn to live in accordance to model, to imitate. So well done to every single one of you. I want everyone else out there, I want you to know, all of you out there in the white sympathetic sphere, specifically those who are antagonistic in the anti-white narrative, you play the villain, you use white negative language. So instead of talking about the victimization of our people, the focus being there and putting it into the victimization, our victimization is used as an excuse to hate elsewhere. Those people have been relentlessly attacking me. They've been lying about me. They've been misrepresenting me everywhere they go. Every claim under the sun, in an effort to undermine the work that we're doing here. Because the work that we're doing here isn't the work that they've invested their lives in. It isn't playing the role of a bad guy in some other movie. It isn't the Hitlerian, for example, endeavor. So many of them get trapped in this in this mode of thinking. And so they want to destroy that which they're jealous of. They want to destroy that which they don't have a rebuttal for. They don't have an argument for, to say, this is why Jason is wrong. This is why everybody should be a Hitlerian. This is why everybody should be a craven and go and just hide in the hills instead. This is why, these are the reasons why Jason is wrong. So instead, what they've done is they have relentlessly attacked me with lies, with slander, calumny, others just arguing, coming into the chat and arguing and going into other chats and threads and talking about just how everything I'm doing, misrepresenting the work that I'm doing. I want you all to know that I forgive you. What happened, this dichotomy between the giant victory on Sunday and then the consequence of the other behavior on Tuesday, is such proof of the veracity, the accuracy that we share and preach here, the understanding of human nature, of the societal context and the shifting context. We could go on and on. It's such an understanding that it would just be cruel to rub your nose in it. So instead of being cruel, after all this time, enduring all of your slander, all of your hatred behind my back, even people that I have been even recently good to, even recently helped out, go behind my back in other threads and blatantly lie about me. I want you to know that I forgive you. Because I know right now, you know in your heart, whether you are going to be honest or not, that you have been arguing against me. You have been misrepresenting, straw manning me, and then even outright slandering with the most disgusting accusations and slander, because you didn't have an argument that could overcome our position of being the hero in our story rather than the villain in theirs. You wanted to play that villain. And Jason said it's going to go bad. Jason said that it's not right to send all those young men out onto those Philadelphia streets and put them in harm's way, where they're going to be doxxed, where a slap lawsuit can be brought against them because people felt afraid of their presence. And just like was done in Charlottesville successfully, you all said it couldn't be done. I said it would be done. I used to say, I guess I still will, from time to time. I wonder when the phone is going to ring with all the apologies, but I don't expect it will, because you're probably feeling humiliated. And I want you to know that I don't want you to feel embarrassed. I don't want you to feel humiliated. I want you to come to White Wellbeing. I want you to accept that the path that you were on, the position you argued for, any of the iterations of playing the villain in the anti-white narrative, that it is wrong, that every time it fails, that every time, don't hate Jason because Jason says it's not going to work and then it doesn't work. Hate yourself. Hate the people who taught you to behave that way. Hate the guy who argued you into marching out on that street and carrying that flag and saying that you were a member of that party and training on videos to fight. Hate those people. Don't hate me because I said it wouldn't work. Don't hate me because what I said, all of the bad things that I said would come true, came true. So the human being can go wrong. They can also go right. I want to see you go right. I forgive you for your slanders. The only way that you can make right on this now, all of the arguments about how Jason's words wouldn't do anything and that you have to talk tough. Well, the talking tough, the edgy talk, that's why people are paying $500,000, $500,000 judgments against them. That's what the edgy talk got them. It's just being edgy, Jason. Just let them be edgy. Just let them. And edgy is playing the villain in the anti-white narrative. It's just being edgy. You can't police people's thoughts. Nobody's talking about policing people's thoughts. How do people feel now that the ones, not just me, but the ones who came out against Jared George for standing on his principles and saying, look, he loves Western kind. He doesn't hate other groups of people. It's not right to be edgy, to make a cartoon about hating or harming another group of people. It was those kinds of conversations that are now costing these people $500,000 apiece in judgments. And it could get a lot worse. And every day that goes by, the country gets more anti-white and will get more. And it will get worse. The judgments will get higher. Surely everyone can see now, after the judgment at Charlottesville, that everything that we articulate about all of the previous vehicles, the ideologies, etc., surely you can see. If you have two cells to rub together in your head, that will never work. it's only going to ruin your life. The slap lawsuits the lawsuit that was successfully used in Charlottesville will be successfully used again. It could still be used on the very brave men who got out on the street, foolishly led out onto the streets of Philadelphia. How many people attacked me for criticizing that, for wanting to protect the young men out on those streets who ended up getting doxxed? I mean, the attacks were endless over that. Well, the slap lawsuit can be used against them. Are you all going to say, is the response going to be, well, it's not fair? I don't give a how not fair it is. You have to live in reality. Don't come to me or to anybody but maybe your mom and say, it's not fair that they get to do it, but we don't get to do it. That's not activism. That's not being an adult. That's not being a man or woman of the West. It would be great in a fairy tale world. We would be able to have our freedom of speech, freedom of association. If they're able to set cities on fire and get away with it, well, then you'd be able to set cities on fire and get away with it. But that's not reality. So there's no use in complaining that it's not that way. That's a waste of your energy and a waste of your time. And if you say to yourself that you just can't think about what could be done then, if you can't march down a street looking scary to a bunch of anti-white people who can sue you to the tune of $500,000 for being intimidated by you successfully, if you can't think of anything else to do, then I guess you better just start going free. There's a manual. You can get started. Or maybe you need to just get out of the equation altogether. Stop participating. I don't know. Because if you continue to participate, you're going to end up bankrupted. You know, and we had I don't know who said it during PWR, but someone said that that the not a penny is going to end up coming out of the people who were successfully sued because they don't have anything. Well, the truth is that they never will be able to have anything because everything they own will be able to be taken, garnished, their wages garnished, their different types of property. It can be, they'll have to be forced to sell to pay off this judgment. So they're ruined as a consequence of following either they were the self-aggrandizers themselves who were at the head of it and were encouraging people to behave this way, or they're the poor souls who ended up listening to them rather than us. So I hope that, I know it's not going to be the case, regrettably, for everyone, but I hope for a great many that this proof, once again, of everything that we have said about the effectiveness of our approach versus the ineffectiveness and the dangerous behavior of the other vehicles, I hope that just puts it to bed for a great many of you for a long time. I don't know, when I was reading about this, it was breaking my heart because I knew that so many lives are going to be ruined as a consequence of this, and that I did my damnedest to try to prevent that from happening. And at the same time, I was silenced and blacklisted and smeared. How many of you out there actually went into other chats and said things like, oh, that guy's a fed, and to get people not to listen to us? And then how many of those people who didn't come to us as a consequence of your speech maybe ended up or will end up joining an organization or participating in an endeavor that ends up ruining their lives too, so that they can never own anything, so that they can never have a job that'll pay anything of any substantive amount of money. And it's all just going to be garnished until it's all gone anyhow. So there's your dichotomy for a lifetime. There are people on that list from Charlottesville that I personally told not to act that way, that this would happen to them. Let's talk about, and if you have any questions about that, I'll address them. But effectively, I'll turn to this. Effectively, it's over, and it's only going to get worse. CNBC writes, jury in Charlottesville, Unite the Right trial, reaches verdict. Charlottesville, Virginia, 9 people injured, and the injury, some of those injured were just psychologically. They were afraid. And there are people, for example, in Philadelphia, where Patriot Front marched, all of those heroes, those brave young men, where they marched. There are people in Philadelphia who claim that they were terrorized by these masks wearing, and for them, it is the Nazis come to life, walking around with the fasces and just making it as obvious as they possibly could that they were quite scary. We can only hope that there isn't a slap lawsuit brought against them for that action. And the argument, if somebody says, well, then what can be done? I mean, how many times do I have to say, I hope if people are in the live chat saying, well, then what can be done? If we can't act like the villain in the anti-white narrative, then there's nothing that can be done. I hope that people in the live chat who are going free will be able to say to them, listen, you're going to get an opportunity here. Stop talking. There is a practice that works. This is what can be done. You can change your life. You can change the lives of those around you. Stop saying that, well, the only thing that can be done is the most self-destructive thing that is conceivable today. 9 injured during the 2017 Unite the Right rally in downtown Charlottesville, Virginia, are entitled to financial compensation, a jury declared Tuesday, in reaching a partial verdict. But it could not agree on the most serious claims that the defendants, about 24 white supremacists, neo-Nazis, and key organizers, engaged in a conspiracy to commit violence under federal law. I don't know if it says it in this article, but effectively, the individuals behind this suit are going to bring those charges again because they made the case, apparently they claim successfully, that was indeed, there was the conspiracy, and that the jury just wanted to get home for Thanksgiving, that this was just going to draw out, they were going to miss Thanksgiving with their families. There is double jeopardy by a different name. They just changed the verbiage a little bit, and the suit moves forward again. So I fear that they probably will be able to bring this forward again and do even more damage. The jury of 11 deliberated for more than 3 days following 4 weeks of testimony in the civil trial in a federal court in Charlottesville. The plaintiffs, all from Charlottesville, described broken bones, the bloodshed, and emotional trauma resulting from the mayhem. The defendants, some self-described racists and white nationalists. Can you believe how absolutely thick do you have to be to call yourself the anti-white slur racist? And for those who know, and we've shared with, white nationalist is on the FBI list. It's like claiming you are a member of the mafia. It opens the doors to allow them to do things that they otherwise are not allowed to do when it comes to you and your personal life. So keep that in mind. The defendants, and also just generally speaking, white nationalist doesn't mean to our brothers and sisters out there what it might mean to you. You might think it means the most noble and heroic thing in the world, but you have to deal with the actionable definition, which is the one in people's heads. And they believe a white nationalist is somebody who runs people over with their cars at a rally in Charlottesville. The defendants, some self-described racists and white nationalists, argued they were exercising their First Amendment rights in organizing and participating in the rally. So what did they do there? They put their faith in the fiction of the legal system. What do we say? You never put your faith in the legal system. It's not going to do any, when you sit in jail or when you have that $500,000 judgment hanging over your head, no one's going to give a damn that you have your First Amendment and you sit there saying, well, I should be able to say the things I want to say if they can say the things they want to say. No one's going to give a damn. Your life's ruined. Your effectiveness for white well-being is over. These cases, the case known as Sines versus Kessler, was the first major lawsuit in years to be tried under the so-called Ku Klux Klan Act, which, by the way, the precedent, a rarely used federal law codified after the Civil War, of course, accurately known as the War for Southern Independence. It was installed to diminish the power of white supremacists and protect African Americans, prohibiting discrimination in voting and other rights. So you see here what we share, that you have the anti-white slurs, things like white supremacists, and then you see how the law is about inflicting injury on Western kind, not protecting black people, because you see it was extended to all anti-whites, irrespective of their race, even white ones, long as they were anti-white. So this is just the verbiage. This is just the pretext. When they talk about blacks here, it just means this is the way to inflict injury on white people. In making its decision, the grand jury, and so just how would you go wrong there? If you're the villain in the anti-white narrative, you would be cussing black people here, instead of talking about the injury and the victimization of Western kind. In making its decision, the jury had to find that the defendants, who include Jason Kessler, the lead organizer of the rally, and Richard Spencer, a white nationalist who coined the term alt-right, entered into a conspiracy to commit violence. But the jury was deadlocked in the first two claims of a federal race-based conspiracy to interfere with civil rights and action for neglect to prevent. So that to me sounds like a big, the second part here, a big gray area on which they will be able to get them later. The jury also agreed on a range of punitive damages on the other claims, including assault and battery and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Intentional infliction of emotional distress. How many people criticized me and made up the absolutely most disgusting lies about me to prevent people from listening to me, because I said it was wrong to go into Philadelphia, into a black area, a non-white area, and hang posters up that for them are the equivalent of Hitler and the Nazis hanging up posters. And all over these different boards, people were saying, Jason says it's wrong to scare non-white children. Well, yeah, it is wrong to scare non-white children. But not only is it wrong to scare non-white children, you're not doing anything for yourself or our people. If you claim to care about our people, it looks like what you actually care about is scaring non-white children. And if that's what your goal is, we don't want you. So you go into an area, you terrorize non-white children. They actually are frightened by it, which is wrong. That's immoral. And they can then come after you for scaring them and sue you into oblivion successfully. How many of those content creators are going to get on their mics and say, sorry, Jason was actually right. Shouldn't have said all those lies about him. The jury also agreed on a range of punitive damages on the other claims, including assault and battery and intentional infliction of emotional distress, awarding more than $25 million to the plaintiffs. On the claim that the defendants violated Virginia's civil conspiracy law, the jury awarded $500,000 in punitive damages against all individual defendants, including Kessler and Spencer, and $1 million against 5 white nationalist organizations. Among the evidence were text messages, social. Now listen to this. Everybody who criticized, for example, Jared George, and everybody who criticized me, everybody who criticized anyone who said you should not be what they're referring to as edgy. You should never play the villain. You should never play. Now, unfortunately, there were some artists that used to be in the white positive sphere, and maybe they were kind of touch and go. Maybe they were kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And the 1 foot out, they were playing the villain and making memes and villain memes so that they look like the monster in the anti-white narrative, and they have a bit of a giggle. They have a bit of a laugh. They're just having some memes, right? It was the memes. It was those conversations that put these people under the poorhouse for the rest of their lives. So don't say that you weren't warned. Don't say that it was the wrong thing to do, to behave that, to have your focus in that direction. First of all, it's immoral. Second of all you're going to end up doing is this happening. And we told you this before this happened. So again, congratulations to everybody that saw the light. But for those who ended up thinking, well, being white positive, that's not quite as fun as making snarky, ugly jokes about other races of people, and jokes about harming other groups of people, and jokes about being a Hitlerian and all of this sort of stuff, being edgy. That's what the defendants tried to say. Well, we were just being edgy. Okay, here's your $500,000 judgment that you have to pay. Have a nice day. Among the evidence were text messages, social media posts, conversations on Discord, which is an online chat platform where they discussed and meticulously coordinated the 2-day event, shared memes, and which was held in response to the Charlottesville planned removal of a statue of the Confederate General Robert E. Lee. The protest turned deadly when James Fields, an Ohio man who revered Adolf Hitler, rammed his car into a crowd, killing Heather Heyer, a civil rights activist. Dozens were also injured in the car attack, including 4 of the plaintiffs. Where would James Alex Fields Jr. be today if he had come to White Wellbeing and Going Free rather than one of these Hitlerian groups? Where would he be today? Do you care? Do you give a damn? Maybe you don't. All these people now saying free James Fields. You got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. You're Roman saluting Hitler, and then you're saying free James Fields. Your asses put him there. You're the reason why he will never see the light of day again. You're the reason why he now has to pay $12 million of this has to come out of his pocket. You're the reason why he's there. Think about that. And when you think about who should you follow, what leaders, what content creators, who should you follow? Well, were they the kind of people that preach things that put people in jail for the rest of their lives? Or are they the kind of people who are looking out for you? Not perfect, but have the compass direction pointed in the right way. The jury agreed Fields must pay $12 million in punitive damages in connection with the attack. I tell you, if I was Fields' brother and I knew, I'm not saying he has a brother, I don't know anything about him, but if I were his brother, or let me rephrase it this way, I would imagine if he had a brother and the brother found out through what group he began worshiping Hitler and became a Hitlerian, I think his brother would probably track them down and beat the hell out of him. I think that would probably be, I would not be surprised if that happened. And this is the other thing I want to say. I am not as upset with, there are people who are left of the bell curve for the white race. There are people with 80 IQs. And there are people who are morally bankrupt. Maybe they are genetically that way. Maybe it's just because of too much Mountain Dew. I don't know. And they want to play the villain, and I get in their way. GoingFree gets in their way. The great Fournel gets in their way and says, don't do that. And so they say, oh, well, F you, and that guy must be some sort of predator of some type, and a cop or a Jewish person or whatever it might be. I don't blame those people as much because as another group. Those people, it's almost like they're just handicapped. The group that gets the most blame are the thinkers and content creators who are smart enough to hear what we have to say here, and instead of saying, Jason and all of those people going free who were saying, don't do this, don't behave that way, they're actually right. Instead of saying that, they're cowards because they see the flack that we get, and then they cowardly side with the mob. They just watch from a distance. Don't say anything nice about the Going Free people, no matter how much success they have, the White Wellbeing people, because then the mob will be upset with us as well. Cowards, every single one of them, because they know better. And they have the ability to help put an end to this sort of thing happening again and again and again. This is the worst movie that I have had to watch again and again throughout my life. And the whole time running around, it's like Twilight Zone, trying to tell people, don't do this again. The trial included explicit audio of some of the defendants' use of anti-Semitic and racial slurs in conversation. Again, you wouldn't be talking this way unless you were hating on these groups. So these people don't love Western kind. Which Kessler testified were words often used to be provocative. I've seen that too from some of our artists that kind of cycle in to the sphere. They'll say, oh, I'm just trying to provoke a conversation, I'm trying to provoke an idea. That you don't play the villain at all, ever. Jurors also heard messages packed with, quote, insider language and codes that expert witnesses said white nationalists used to incite participants in the alt-right movement. Roberta Kaplan, a lawyer for the plaintiffs, had asked jurors to consider awarding millions of dollars in punitive damages, from $7 to $10 million for those physically harmed, and $3 million to $5 million for emotional pain. So go back to Philadelphia. When are those apologies going to come in? Go back to Philadelphia. Those guys were doxxed. And what if they, in the future, are sued for $3 to $5 million apiece for scaring the people who claim to have been frightened by their presence on the Philadelphia streets, dressed up like villains in the movies? I'm only saying this because I don't want this to happen to you. I know you're listening right now. I know you're an angry guy, you're an angry girl, you hate what has happened to Western civilization. I hate it too. You hate that you were born into a world that the anti-whites dominate and they've been white erasing us our entire lives. I hate it too. But I know deep down you want to be effective in putting an end to that. You want to stop anti-whiteism. And I'm telling you, the way you're going is going to cause you grief, is going to cause you a great bit of harm, is going to ruin your life, maybe even in your life. I'm telling you that there's a better way. You can be a full, well-rounded, productive member of society. You can do good by your family and friends. And the entire time, you serve white well-being so that we reclaim our destiny. You're going to hate me for that? Because I don't want to say to you, here's another type of heroin. Just stick with playing the villain. Stick with saying the meanest things. What was just said? It was just, I just remembered this. It was just like last week. When was it? Somebody was, a big criticism of me was that my speech wasn't violent enough. Well, this is what the violent speech gets you. This is why I'm not paying $500,000, because I love our people and because that's where my focus is. I don't hate anybody else. Speech not violent enough. The suit is funded by Integrity First for America, a nonprofit civil rights organization which lauded the jury's decision despite its partial verdict. We feel that justice was served today, Karen Dunn, another attorney for the plaintiffs, told reporters. There's going to be accountability for people who did this, she says. I think this verdict today is a message that this country doesn't tolerate violence based on racial and religious hatred in any form, Kaplan said, adding they are not disappointed by the outcome. This is a very interesting sentence. The country doesn't tolerate violence based on racial or religious hatred. You know what? Everybody serving white well-being also does not tolerate violence and hatred based on racial and race and religion. We also object to that. Kaplan said, adding that they are not disappointed by the outcome. No shit. Everyone wanted to get home for Thanksgiving. We understand. And as do we, she said. Randolph McLaughlin, a professor at Hobbs University of Law at Pace University, Hobbs School of Law, Pace University, who successfully used the Ku Klux Klan Act in a civil trial in Tennessee in the 1980s, said defendants in these cases don't typically have deep pockets. So it's not necessarily about the money. Quote, you're not suing to make a buck, he said. You're suing to bankrupt them. Their whole lives bankrupted. Their whole lives having to pay. Their whole life. They can't own a home because they'd have to give it up to pay for the judgment. Now, was I in the right to be livid with these folks who were leading people into these courses of action? Was I in the right to try to get out in front of folks and say, Christ Almighty, don't do this? How many times does this have to happen? We have something that works here. The long-delayed civil trial in Charlottesville unfolded as high-profile criminal trials in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and Brunswick, Georgia also grabbed national attention, feeding into larger conversations and politicized rhetoric regarding extremism and racial justice. During the trial, Spencer tried to distance himself from the rally, telling the jury he had no part in its planning despite being tied to a tiki torch demonstration the night before the event in which people shouted, quote, Jews will not replace us, close quote, on the University of Virginia campus. So I've seen the videos. I know that there were good young men out there that should have had some sort of pro-Western kind chant going, but absolute scum. And somebody wrote in the thread about how they're done with Jason because he referred to all of those people that continuously attack him and slander him and misrepresent him, so nobody will come to the service of White Wellbeing. He heard Jason say that they were lowlifes, that they were scum. Well, you know what? They are lowlifes and scum. It was lowlifes and scum that led all these good young men that had promising futures for them to make that chant that Jews are not going to replace them. And what did that do for our people? What did that do for the mission of recapturing our destiny? What did that do for the mission of putting an end to the victimization of Western kind? It harmed it, as it always does. So, low-life losers got good people to say things that harm our race, that harm our people, that harms our civilization, and that ruins their lives. So if you don't like me calling them scum, then maybe you need to look in the mirror. Maybe you're seeing the word hurled at you because you deserve it. Now, you could be a better person. You can get out of that sludge. You can climb out and be somebody heroic and noble. But you're not going to do it by saying, Jason complained about the people who endlessly attack him and slander him and misrepresent him so that nobody will look at the work he's doing. These Hitlerians and Klansmen and militiamen and cravens and all of these others playing the antagonist in the anti-white narrative have had success over the years, preventing a great many people from coming to Going Free. How far would we be? How many lives would even be living today? Because people would have lived productive, good lives, and they would have had children, and they would have been raising them, not just had children, not just produced white babies that can become anti-white, that will become anti-white without being inoculated against that psychological warfare. The odds are 99-1 that they're going to become anti-white. I've watched others who are here, who are in their 50s, 60s, 70s, who are going free. They can attest to what I'm saying, that we have watched for decades. People rear children in Hitlerian environments and all these different crazy environments. And then the kids, they don't become perfect advocates for white well-being or the perfect Hitlerian imitation of pop. No, they hate their parents. They go 180 degrees. The vast majority of them. How far would we be today? So how many lives have to be ruined? How many other names do they have? You think that's it? You think that's it? You think this one case is all there's going to be? Oh, no. There's more to come. So if you see yourself as one of those who have thought, well, you're just going to be edgy. This is just taking some, you're just blowing some steam off. It's time to grow up. It's time to realize that it wasn't you today, but it'll be you next time that has to pay the $500,000 judgment. It wasn't you today, but all of that effort of playing the villain with memes and ethnic slurs and all this other garbage, that has undermined the good work that we're doing to recapture our destiny. We need the heroes, the good people in the white sympathetic sphere to come away from the secessionist movements, to come away from the Hitlerian movements, to come away from all these different things, and to focus on the love of our people, to go free of the anti-white narrative, to be happy, productive fathers and mothers, if that's in the cards for them. Maybe it's not, but happy and productive nonetheless in the service of white well-being for the totality of their lives. Because no LARPing, none of these other ideas have ever worked or will ever work. All they do is fail. And if you want to hate me for that reality, then talk to your therapist about it. We have the Rittenhouse. What was I going to say? Probably nothing about anything more to say about Kyle. And we see here the one thing I want to say about what some are calling the Christmas Parade Antiwhite Terror attack. You should treat voting, when it comes to Republicans or Democrats, or you're somebody who wants to vote, give voting the same level of attention and import that you give to a bowel movement. It's nothing. You have to have a bowel movement. If you feel like you have to vote, go ahead. That's not the substance. Voting should not be the substance, or motivating others to vote should not be or must not be the substance of your service against anti-whiteism, for white well-being, putting an end to the victimization. Your substance should be the practice of going free and the spreading of the key concepts that will liberate our people from white guilt, from white noir, from everything else you can learn about in the manual called Go Free. You can get it at Amazon. You can get it at NoWhiteGuiltCollectibles.com with a signature. The Republicans are absolute scum. The conservative leaders, scum. Every one of them. They have taken what took place in Waukesha and turned it into a subject where all of the evidence that many people are reporting and that I have been reading is pointing to a racial connection. Maybe that will end up being true, maybe not. They've taken all of that and diverted the attention of the entire white population of the United States and indeed around the world to bail reform and to activist judges and activist district attorneys and a debate about, are parade routes hardened enough? And from now on, shouldn't they use trash trucks to block off the parade routes so it's the city's fault for not blocking off the parade route with trash trucks? And recidivism is another thing they're talking about. The conservatives, the Republicans. Also talking about the Democrats are responsible for this happening because of the defund the police movement. And also talking about, this is just a case of a guy who likes to run over people because he ran over somebody in the past. Everything, but which is the most obvious thing, the only thing that can save Western civilization. I mean, Western civilization for everyone, not just Western civilization for Western kind, for everyone. That's what the Republican Party and conservative leadership is doing. They are intentionally diverting the attention of every single conservative and those who vote Republican, conservative and constitutionalist, libertarian, etc. They are actively, malice aforethought. They know exactly what they're doing. Diverting everybody's attention away from the one thing that can save Western civilization. If you get everybody in a room of all immutable characteristics who consider themselves conservatives, constitutionalists, whatever it might be, because they support these different pillars of Western civilization, and you get them all talking about the fact that this is an attack or let's say a different situation, a different attack at someplace different. So let's say an attack in Nebraska in the future, or an attack in Texas in the future, or wherever. And they instead of these people talking about all of this senseless topics, that have always gotten them nowhere their whole lives, again, the lives of their parents and grandparents. That's why we are where we are today. Instead, you get them talking about the fact that white people were targeted and that there needs to be put an end to anti-whiteism in the United States. You get them talking about that, and we take the country back. That's why Fox News, that's why Tucker Carlson, that's why the Republican Party, that's why these Republican politicians who get up in front of that at the lectern and want to wax eloquent like they're from a wax museum. That's what they look like. And that's what they sound like. I mean, I've heard smarter things out of wax dummies. They want to get up there and they want to talk about all of this garbage instead of the reality. If they were to tell the room the truth, everything would change almost overnight. So they're not going to do that. So how do we effectuate it then? We speak to the people in the room. We become the people in the room with the concepts that are in the practice of going free. And then what has to happen to the politician? Then what has to happen to the Fox News to have listeners? Then they have to speak in your language, or you don't watch them, or you don't vote for them. So then when you have that politician that steps up and says he's going to do or she's going to do X, Y, or Z, he or she will have to say, I'm going to put an end to the victimization of Western kind. And then when they get into office, if they don't do it, that's the metric by which they're measured, and then they're thrown out. Then you have a chance in politics. You don't have a chance until then. Long as they're talking about things like hardening parade routes and officials in the city need to be held responsible because they didn't make the parade route hard enough, or bail shouldn't have been set so low. As long as they're talking about things like this, like they've been doing for your life, the lives before you, the lives before them, things will continue getting worse, and we will head rapidly into perdition. It'll happen slow at first and then all at once. All right, it's already 5:15 on the East Coast, United States. So I'm going to go through a few announcements quickly, see what you all have to say. I want to share with you some more of the great Elaine Sabatino's works of art that I have here. This is how you love. This is how you make a difference in the world. Okay, so you got these things, you make these, and you put these kinds of things up in the world, and you let the anti-whites try to call these things something other than they clearly are. Of course, these are the ones for Halloween. Many wonderful, because she's made so many glorious things. I won't be sharing with you everything that she did just recently. That's obviously a Thanksgiving one, which we have. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone in the U.S. Put that back on there. You don't have to make things as cute and creative as this. Maybe you don't have the time. You can make an easy leaflet. It could say something like, it's not the similarities that make us the same, it's the differences that make us different. That's a meme curative. We have a lot of those in Go Free. NoWhiteGuilt.org somewhere on the leaflet, on the flyer, on the poster. Maybe a picture. You live in a town that has a big old redwood tree that everybody knows and reveres. And so you take a picture of that redwood tree and you put that on your leaflet. Then they identify with it, something close to home, something that we love nature, for example. Thank you. Let's get a round of emojis for Elaine Sabatino, and I'll be sharing more of her work on next Sunday. If you want to send cards for Mama Fraulein, please get them in now. You have just 2 weeks to get them to my address, where you can go to NoWhiteGuilt.org, click on financial gift. You'll see not only there the cryptocurrency options, but you'll also see the snail mail option. And there you can send your card of condolence, your Thanksgiving and or Christmas, whatever you want to do. You send them there. If they are for Mama Fraulein Dresden, off to the corner of the card, maybe you write for Mama Fraulein Dresden. And then I will know that these need to go on to that wonderful woman, a survivor of the firebombing of Dresden, who just recently lost her daughter, Fraulein Dresden, our friend and member of this community, to the ravages of cancer. I want to get a big raucous round of emojis for No White Guilt Clips. Did not know this. He didn't announce this. But I was informed just the other day that he had, I guess, bought commercial time or something somewhere for ad time for White Wellbeing, for nowhiteguilt.org. So let's get a big raucous round of emojis for No White Guilt Clips. That is a self-starter, entrepreneur. This is the ingenuity of Western kind. This is how we are going to recapture our destiny. It's not going to be a bunch of content consumers sitting around and bitching and griping and moaning about things. It's going to be people who learn a practice and continually apply it to their lives, like working out, and who then go into the world and share it with our brothers and sisters. And we can make a rapid difference in the world with these concepts. So thank you so much, No White Guilt Clips. I also want to share that we have another great example of our growing successes in service to white well-being is that we now have these GoingFree clubs that are being started all around the world. Iberian Rider. Let's celebrate him. Big raucous round of emojis. Who has started a GoingFree club in Southern Europe. And I don't know the exact geological range that it covers as of right now. But big round of raucous emojis for Iberian Rider. That is marvelous. And you can learn all about the GoingFree clubs. We'll talk about them maybe this coming Sunday as well. I discussed them in GoFree 2nd edition iteration 2, which is, of course, now available and available on Kindle if you'd like a digital version. Please do look into it, because this is going to be the way you'll be able to have community. This is going to be the way that you'll be able to get together, and speaking the lexicon to each other strengthens it in you and your audience. And so then you all will be better equipped to go out into the world and have those conversations with your friends, family, and strangers. So you can imagine going on a hike with others who are going free. Nobody there is talking about revisionist history. Nobody there is talking about the perpetrator lineup. Nobody there is using any of these other tools that they use, irony and the like, inside that anti-white narrative. Instead, they're inside our story, and they're being productive using concepts that liberate us from anti-whiteism. You'll grow. The content creator that I want to share today is the one and only, the great Jared George, the great musician Jared George. So please, he's got a YouTube page, and he's at thegreatorder.com, thegreatorder.com, and he's got a YouTube page. I think it's Jared George, and he's on Instagram, and he's on Gab, and I think he's on Twitter, and he's just about everywhere. Find Jared George and follow him. He's serving white well-being, and he hasn't gone anywhere. As these strings to pull people in these very dangerous directions have pulled. So a big thank you to Mr. Jared George. We have Western Renaissance writes here. Remember, Thanksgiving is just around the corner, with Christmas quickly following. Be sure to take advantage of these holidays and your interactions with family and friends to be a shining example. Think now of what actions you can take to plant the seeds of change and how you will approach different personalities. Beautifully written. See, Western Renaissance is magnificent. This is truly magnificently written. This is thinking about how are we going to change though the minds of those around us? How are we going to help them get out of the anti-white narrative so that we can become a people again, so that we have options again for how to recapture our destiny on greater and greater scales? Western Renaissance, look at the actual substantive difference from these other vehicles and how they talk and how they act. They are all about finding the people who already agree and incorporating them into the new group or the new ideology that is just a new iteration of what was there before, focuses a little different, has a few different names involved. Western Renaissance is talking about, how are you going to bring that mother over? How are you going to bring that mother-in-law? How are you going to bring that father-in-law? How are you going to bring that brother over to someplace healthy? That makes all the difference in the world. Thank you so much, Western Renaissance. Promethean Epoch says, I really believe that this whole, quote, stolen land anti-white narrative is the most harmful MP out there at this time. Not all white nations had slaves or are said to be responsible for World War II, but even countries like Sweden are pushing the, quote, stolen land narrative by saying the Sami people were the original inhabitants. I really think if we can push back on this, the rest of the anti-white narrative will crumble, at least be greatly weakened. We should put our heads together and think of MCs to use to counter the stolen land narrative, which incorporate the 5 key concepts. The term stolen land should always be in quotations as well. Here are a few I have thought up. Number 1, stolen land is an anti-white narrative. Absolutely. Stolen land is a pretext for white erasure. Absolutely. Stolen land dehumanizes Western kind. Absolutely. Stolen land is an anti-white rewriting of history. Absolutely. Stolen land is a pretext for anti-whiteism. Now, what did you just see there from Promethean Epoch? Another magnificent champion. Taking personal responsibility for finding ways that you can interact with friends, family, and strangers to put those individuals who are anti-white in the position that they actually are in, which is in the immoral position, so that they have to make a choice. Are they going to remain immoral and argue against and argue in favor of victimizing us as an immoral agent, or are they going to have to become neutered? Maybe if they become paralyzed and they don't know what to do, that's just as good for us as them coming over to White Wellbeing, because that means that they're not anti-white anymore. This is the difference. This is the fundamental difference. Reptile, and I think Reptile has maybe some more to the back. He writes here, heroes aren't born, they are made. The primary component is GoFree. God bless you, brother. Thank you for that testimonial. That's glorious. You're absolutely right. We have to decide to be heroes. We have to make that decision again and again. Ardent White writes here, here are a couple no white guilt winter craft ideas I have been working on with my children. Snowflake decorating paired with information about symmetry, sound semantics, and light reflection. Practicing sentence writing with facts about snowflakes. We also made a paper mache snowman, and we're in the process of painting and decorating, and he definitely has no white guilt. We are done. When we are done, he will be a constant reminder they helped create on display for the entire winter season. So we were talking about, and this is beautiful. Thank you so much, Ardent White. We were talking about incorporating your children and the crafts and things that you do in the practice of going free. So the whole time you're having fun with them and you are building wonderful memories and educating them, you are also simultaneously educating them, inoculating them against anti-whiteism by educating them with the practice of going free. The Great Lovely Porridge writes here, if the anti-white movie doesn't get made, he says, I'll make it, or at least a 40-minute documentary style video. Yes, thank you very much for that. I think I read that last Sunday as well. Well done, brother. Let's see. Be Volkish says here, I was thinking about it, and I think the reason people that fought in wars start to get broken up when they talk about it is more or less due to them remembering their compatriots that probably got killed right in front of them. So since no one that Kyle knew got killed, I think if he gets let out of prison, at least as far as his mentality goes, he will be fine. The thing that will be bad for him is that he might have to go to prison for a bit, and he might get beat up in there unless he joins a white power gang. Vivokish, I touched upon this past Sunday. The statement that I think he will be fine is really the statement, I hope he will be fine. People from war, people who have experienced warfare, but this happens with police officers too. A healthy person cannot take the life of another person without the question lingering in them forever. Did I have to do it? This is a well-known phenomenon. A person, a police officer, a person in the military need not see a friend die. They might only see the enemy dead. There are plenty of people from Desert Storm who saw a lot of enemy dead, never any of their buddies, and are wrecked because of it. When they especially potentially were the ones who finished their lives. So I hope that Kyle psychologically will be as good as he can be. I know that he's going to suffer, though, and that's another reason why we should never encourage that sort of celebrate that sort of behavior again. Victorian Time Traveler writes, who is this to? To someone. It was a response to someone. Says, Doug, you sound exactly like me just months ago. I read a whole stack of books on the topic you brought up, and I can tell you, even in fiction, it only survives because of plot armor. Well, there is no plot armor in real life. One of those authors passed away a couple of years ago, and it was a sad irony that I, a complete stranger, mourned his passing more than his own children did, because they are all anti-white and wanted nothing to do with him. And I can almost understand that, because they want to live normal lives. I don't want to be the story. I don't want to be the story with your daughter. Oh, this was somebody who called in. That's right. Or wrote in. I don't want her to become anti-white and white erase because her father pushed toward ideas and attitudes that were, according to all of the rest of society, evil. GoingFree inoculates children against the anti-Western from a position that is inarguably moral. I can't help but think of the Swedish woman who recorded herself mating with non-white males while singing the Swedish national anthem, and was later found stuffed into the cavity of a rock out in the woods at the hands of those same anti-white non-whites. In her mind, she was striking a blow against evil. The answer to this is definitely not to adopt the villain role in the anti-white narrative. Yeah, Doug was a guy who had written in during the stream 2 weeks ago at least, and was taking a position that Victorian Time Traveler spoke to, I thought, very well, and with great concern for Doug and his daughter. Franklin Peanut writes here, finally passed 2 million total views. I am almost done with watching every single stream you've done on this channel. Wow, Franklin, that is magnificent. I can't think of any times off the top of my head that you were wrong in your predictions. The stuff you predicted a month ago is just as accurate as the things you were predicting 2.5 years ago. It's really timeless. In each one, I learned something new, no matter how old. And the information is actually pragmatic, not useless history, snickering, gaming content, or abstract philosophy. The deconstructions of all the various groups and spheres, as well as the predictions of the various arrests, is especially jarring. Never seen that in any of all the dozens and dozens of podcasts that I've listened to over the years. If the skeptics and naysayers just allowed themselves to hear a mere 10 of the Going Free streams, so many would realize that you are doing what you are doing with your approach and get on board. Thomas Sewell still has thousands of people viewing the new posts on his social media pages. He and his replacement were both arrested and will probably be politically neutered for a long time. The current person running their AntNat organization is likely to face the same fate. How many times do these failed avenues have to be done before people get it? NWG is still here, standing, and they are not. Most of the time, there's nothing new about what they are doing either. They are just rehashing the same ideas over and over. They still have audiences despite their repeated failures. Absolutely maddening. Very well written, Franklin. We do have, very well said. Just a couple more here. I'll see what you all are saying. And we go back to the great Reptile. He writes here, Kyle's very presence reflected all the myopic naivete of a child. Despite his good intentions and even subsequent acquittal, this was not a victory, all caps. A young man who aspired to be a virtuous lifeguard, law officer, and upstanding member of Western kind is now permanently damaged. Someone who could have been the very best among us will forever carry with him the horrors of that night. The destruction of any young man's bright future is an immeasurable loss to our people. That's something I will never celebrate. A true victory is each young person quietly reading Go Free and sharing that message of love, hope, and redemption with others. It's every individual combating MPs among strangers, every kind word, flyer, and act of generosity. These are the heroes to be celebrated, not the best possible outcome for an avoidable tragedy. I only wish that I, or any member of this community, could have reached poor Kyle first. If anything is to be learned from this, it's how important our work really is. I pray this young man's fate only further drives us to reach more hearts and minds. No more Kyles ever. All caps. Thank you very much. Reptile's got a really good, very smart, got a really good heart. Absolutely. Back to the great, lovely Porridge. And he writes here, I saw a picture of a counterterrorism police dressed in military gear and armed with semi-autos in a shopping district with the caption, quote, it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. We must never forget that things were not like this before, even if we grew up seeing it as the norm. And he goes on here very powerfully, folks. Antique nationalists, Antnats, believe that if normies are comfortable using your verbiage, then that proves it's weak and ineffectual. That if you were really speaking truth, everyone would hate you and reject your message, and you might be imprisoned for it. And that's how you carry favor with these guys. To be despised, your message rejected, and your life ruined, which also happens to be the same goals of the feds and the ADL. Figure that. Many believe that any success is actually the system trying to trick you into believing it's redeemable. Well, at least that's their excuse for failing and wanting to see failure. Fundamentally, they agree with anti-whites that white advocacy is evil. And that's what attracted them to it. God damn. Porridge is amazing, isn't he, folks? God bless you, brother. Let me see what you all are saying. That's why we attract the most intelligent, the most active, the most courageous, the most industrious, the most creative. We have Segas here, financially gifting $3. Thank you so much, Segas. So strange how Mikey Knock got off from all this, and yet he can still manage to pay multiple people salaries on TRS, despite being removed from all payment processors. Awfully suspicious, if you ask me. You say that he got off from all this. What does that mean? Does that mean he was not found? Does that mean he was not found guilty on Tuesday? Somebody tell me. I don't know. Space Kang writes here with $5. Thank you very much for the financial gift. We need more awareness of the attack on whites any way possible. Many around me did not even hear about the Parade attack. Well, yes, we need space. We need our brothers and sisters to know that these events have happened. But more importantly, that's just the carrier for the concepts of going free. Telling them that something horrible happened is just doom documenting. Telling them all the different lurid details about maybe how it came about, and that's doom dissecting. We tell our brothers and sisters that something like this, if it ends up being the case, that this guy attacked the parade because he's anti-white, he hates white people, and what have you. If that ends up being the case, then we go to our friends, family, and strangers. We mention this event, and we say, in mentioning it, that the guy was anti-white. He was, practicing the ideology of Antiwhitism. He's a part of the white erasure, the greater white erasure that's taking place across Western civilization. People like him become this rabidly anti-white because of the anti-white narrative. So we use events to empower our brothers and sisters with concepts that they will gladly understand and take to use in their own lives, because it will enable them. It is empowering. It will enable them to win these conversations with the people in their lives. It will enable them to win the conversation with their own subconscious mind. The old methods were all about just tell them more about how bad it is. We got to get out how bad it is. But we don't have a people, brother. We don't have a people. White people will run away. They will use any excuse at all to not side with their own kind. So you've got to use the concepts that lock in what's actually happening, that locks them into the reality that the reason they're victimized as an individual is because as an individual, they're a member of a people who is being attacked. Only then can we begin to organize thought and organize a people. Tall Kevin, how are you doing, brother? Right here with $10. Thank you so much for the kind financial gift. He says, thanks for helping us clarify what these court cases are about. What will you be thankful for this Thanksgiving? Myself is my family, passive income I have recently made from Bitcoin and stocks, me and my family health, and being part of this community. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone here. You are not alone. Well, Kevin, thank you so much, brother. That's very meaningful to me. I really appreciate that. I'm thankful, of course, for, I don't know if I should, maybe I should wait. I think I'll wait until our Thanksgiving get together when we have Mr. George and we have some guests together, and we'll all be talking about what we're thankful for. But I really appreciate you saying that. And you can, with the exception, I wish I made a bunch of money off of a cryptocurrency or stocks or anything, but unfortunately no. But everything, not the passive, I guess the passive income is those things. But I'm happy, I'm grateful for the health, of course, and family and friends, this community of champions, and the good that we're doing. Really thankful for the people whose lives we literally saved, who got off the path to suicide. So much more. I don't have time. I wish I could go into all of it. But thank you, brother. I really appreciate that. I'm going to swivel around. I'll save the rest of it for Friday. Make sure you all are with us for Tap on Friday. It is the Thanksgiving special. And me and the great musician Jared George are going to be interviewing folks, having folks come and go. And we will be asking them, of course, what they are thankful for. Over here on Cash App, we have the great DB Cooper. What's going on, brother? Great to see you. Financially gifting $5. How's that little boy doing? How's that little Jason doing? Thank you so much, brother. He says, the West is the best. It sure is. That's splendid. Thank you very much for that. And we have the great Slots. Folks, get your raucous emojis out, because the one and only great Slots has financially gifted $101 US. $101. Thank you, brother. I deeply appreciate that. And he writes here, this is the great Slots, always active, always making it happen. A contributor, absolutely, munificently, many different ways. Talents, time, and finance as well. He writes, you are right about the cowardice. So he's talking earlier about these content creators. And I was saying, I don't blame, and I also don't, or at least I do give them blame because they have agency, not completely, taking all blame away for responsibility away from them. But I don't blame the low IQ people, the midget wits at the very bottom, as much as I do the content creators who see what's going on. I don't blame also as much those who are, average folks, good guys and gals out there who get, hoovered up. They get attracted to this idea that there's going to be some political party and there's going to be some great march and they're going to take over the streets. And they've seen it in the movies so many times. And, we've all done it. We all did it. And you could be susceptible to it. You're supposed to give it up when you're a child. And I mentioned I did it when I was I would watch, when I was a child, I would watch a movie and, it's like a kung fu theater. And then I would put on my Halloween ninja headdress and I would do the Japanese accent or Korean accent or whatever it was. And I suddenly had the power of the ninja. I was 6. And so, you see children do it all the time. Regrettably, you see adults do it too. And I blame both of those sets, but worse, as Sloss is pointing out here, are all these content creators who know better. They see me and others in the white positive sphere taking fire, being slandered, being harassed, being harangued. They see us taking fire, and then they're just cowards. They don't want to say, well, actually, you know what? Jason and those people are right. They don't want to say it because they don't want to take the flack. They'd rather try to walk with the crowd, no matter how harmful it is for them, than do the right thing, than say the right thing. I'm waiting for the day when, like today, we put our foot down and we said, look what ended up happening. And who of the big content creators out there, who is going to go live or make a video and put their name and their face, if they don't show their face, but put their name, whatever maybe they use a nom de guerre, but they're a big content creator, and to their audience, and they're going to say, for God's sakes, all of you who have advocated for playing the villain, you have been fooled, or you are fools. And what they've been talking about over at GoingFree has been right all along. They're right time and again. How many times do they have to be right? And just be brave enough to say that. I'm going to go ahead and bet none. It's much easier to just stay quiet. Jason and the rest of them, they can handle it. They can try to steer everything back to something, try to steer things to something healthy. We'll just hang out over here and, keep a tight lip. Thank you so much, Slots. He also says here, quote, neo-Nazis say it's anti-white terrorism, close quote. And then DMs. Does that mean that there's more, that you have more for me in a direct message? I'll check it out. Let's see what you all are saying in the live chat. I'm going to be rolling out of here. Thank you all for giving applause, raucous emojis for those who deserve. And we have the great Elaine is here. Great to see you. And you are most welcome. Magpie says that just my point that I guess is responding to Ian. Says my point that Jason going free, no white guilt is the only one I have ever seen celebrate normal pro-white women. We use white positive, but yeah, that's right. We do celebrate them. Yeah, if you are just like with the guys, I mean, if you are a woman in the white sympathetic sphere and you are white positive, you're normal, you're the best. You don't have to play the villain here. And look at these different groups that have gone over the past year and a half now that have gone the direction of playing the villain. Look at all that they are embroiled in. My God. If you don't know, don't go looking. Go look, go look at Roadkill first. All right, let's see what else we have here from you all. And so I'm going to be wrapping up in just a minute. We'll roll out as we are wont to do on roll-ins. I see Lapis is with us. I think I saw a deleted message go by about language. This is one of the silliest things when people object to the use of concepts for the reclamation of our destiny. The concepts that you have been sharing are failures. They're proven failures. Western civilization was defeated by concepts, not by tanks, not by arms. So concepts will reclaim our destiny. And so what you need to do is you need to drop all of those ant-nat concepts and you need to get your head on right. This is not about a veneer. This is not about optics. If you are playing the villain in the anti-white narrative, your focus is in the wrong place. That's why you're not healthy. That's why you're walking around mad all the time at the world. You got to turn the focus to the love of our people. It's so bizarre, this idea that if you love your people and you know who they are, that you're going to be had and they'll be victimized. That you have to be hating other people to protect your people. That is insane. That is insane. Artificer says our mental energy bar is high here. It really is. We have a Forego, a sentiment of, we have to forego a sentiment of hate satisfaction, right? We all feel, and instead think and behave strategically to change course, as no one has for us. As no one for us is. That's right. As no one for us is. Correct. Yeah, we have to do it. 100%. Well said. Yonash is here. Try searching anti-white on Twitter, and there is a huge number of recent tweets using it. Well, you know what we say to that, Jonas? Thank you for bringing that to our attention. You know what we say to the rest of the white sympathetic, to the entire Western kind around the world? You're welcome. Catherine is with us. Great to see you. Donning Armor is with us. Hello, brother. Never felt guilty. Great to see you. Calvin is here. All right. Helig is here. Hello to you. 0022. All right. I don't think I missed any. If I missed you, there's Coconut just said hello or laughed or something. If you have any questions, make it happen right now, because I'm about to roll out so that I can eat and get back to work in service to White Wellbeing. What do we have here? Some kind of a message. No, we're good there. Let me spin back around this way, and we have Anon financially gifting $10. Thank you so much, Anon. Writing, have a happy Thanksgiving. Keep up the good work. Well, you too. Everyone have a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you so much, Anon. That's very meaningful. These are tough times. I mean, there are. I can't stop thinking about these families at the Christmas parade, especially that little boy, but all of them. Monstrous. Absolutely monstrous. And the real crime that makes the first one pale is the power of the anti-whites, whether they call themselves Republicans and conservative leaders, and they divert your attention to something other. It's about bail, or it's anti-whites who call themselves Democrats or anything else under the sun, and they say, well, it's a good thing that it happened. Now maybe there can be some XYZ in the anti-white narrative. That crime dwarfs the one committed by the monster at the parade. So thank you so much. And we're going to get to a point, despite all the efforts. I mean, maybe we'll end up being like Elon Musk or something. We'll end up being, one day it'll be 22 million. And as he had, I think it was. And then the next it was how many billions? We'll do the same thing, not in money, but in people. And people who are using the lexicon. They don't even have to know who we are. They just have to start using it, and then the spirit of the West will be freed, and the rest will be history. Tall Kevin writes with $3. God bless you, brother, for another $3. Here he has on top of the 10. It wasn't a bunch of money, at least not yet. FYI to all, do not put a turkey. He says, do not put a turkey in a deep fryer if it's frozen. You'll start a huge fire. I hope that's not advice from experience, brother. Thank you, though. Yes, folks, you heard it here on the Roll-In Going Free. Don't put your frozen turkey in a deep fryer because you'll start a fire. Jonas says the same thing for anti-white is true. Searching for the word anti-white on Gab is true, as it is on Twitter. It's being used everywhere now. You're welcome, Western kind, and all the babies that are yet to be born, and all those white little babies that are in the womb, and all those non-white children who are going to get the opportunity to live in Western civilization, because we will preserve it. It will still exist. So you're welcome. There aren't many people thanking us now. Let me tell you that. Let me just tell you that. We got a lot of content creators who won't say a goddamn thing about all the success we're having, and a goddamn thing about how right we are time and again. Saving people. That's the big thing. Saving people from getting injured. I mean, and their lives ruined, bankrupted for the rest of their lives. And the anti-whites even saying it. And when it comes up, like when we say, look, don't do this because of X, why don't all of the other content creators jump on board before the hue and cry, before they start attacking me and say, hey, wait, don't do that as well. Roy Herbert says here, great stream with Mark and the Woodlander earlier this evening. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. Thank you so much, good brother. Yeah, it was a great conversation. Woodlander was a heck of a lot of fun. I think he'd be great to hang out with on his farm. Let's see. We're seeing some happy Thanksgivings. That's glorious. Yeah, everybody have a heck of a good, safe time tomorrow. You'll be talking with your family members. Maybe some friends will be over as well. Use the opportunity to be white positive and to seed at least the 5 key concepts in the conversation. Maybe make that a goal. The 5 key concepts. Bryce is having a problem with being able to post, and I will look into that, brother. Thank you for letting me know. And Yonash says, I've even seen a black woman on Twitter proudly identify as an anti-white and a black supremacist. That's good. We want them to do that. If they are going to be anti-white, then let's have them say they're anti-white. Have them saying they're black supremacist doesn't do anything for our people. Nothing. You were so many years. There were people, they say, oh, well, you need to get the videos of the black supremacists or the Aslan and all these different groups, and you need to show all the white people. No, it doesn't do anything. You don't have a people to show it to. You show it to white people, they're just going to run away, a bunch of individuals scattering away. So you need these different groups. What you need is if you have a black supremacist group, you need them to announce that they're anti-white. If you have some sort of Hispanic group or whatever it is, supremacist group, you need them to announce that they're anti-white. That will make the difference. And then you don't say their ideology. Who cares what they call their ideology? I don't care. They could call themselves Martian Man. Let me see. I don't know. Marshmallow Man. I really couldn't care less. As long as we identify them as anti-white and their ideology is anti-whiteism, then we'll have success. Let's see. What do we have over here? I think we have some clowns in the question widget. Yeah. Some more. Sometimes you have these folks who show up and they're not even, they're cryptos. They're anti-whites pretending to be white sympathetics or pretending to be Hitlerians or pretending to be these different things. And so when they show up, you just delete all of their comments. Then they've wasted their time. But it looks like we have apparently Karlin Boroshenko was in our chat, the real one, huh? Well, I have a feeling she's going to come around one of these days. Coconut says, you're so funny, you make me laugh every time. I miss y'all. Oh, that's sweet. Yeah, I miss you too. You and your husband, who is, if you ever have to be in a bar room brawl, you're going to want Coconut's husband by your side. Or if your car ever falls down on you and you need somebody to pick it up, you're going to want him on your side. But yeah, I think that we'll bring Karlin Boroshenko around one of these days. She's going to find out that what really needs to be done is there needs to be an end put. Oh no, it ended up being a fake account, but she'll come around one of these days, I hope. Nonetheless, though, she'll learn, I hope, that if we put an end to anti-whiteism, everything she cares about will be saved as well. And unless what she wants is anti-white, wouldn't that be revealing? All right, folks. A happy Thanksgiving to every single one of you. As always, it is glorious to be able to spend time with you all and to talk about these very important things. And I think on this Thanksgiving, when you go to Thanksgiving tomorrow, I want you to use the 5 key make it a goal. If you don't get there, okay, but make it a goal to try to get to 5. Anti-white, anti-whiteism, Western kind, anti-white narrative, white erasure. It's going to be somewhere you can work that in. Remember, you are the moral person in that scenario. Don't fall into the trap that they want you, anti-whites want you to fall into, the vagues want you to fall into. You are the moral person. You are doing the right thing. You are wearing the white hat. You rode in on the white horse. All right. You are the moral, ethical actor in the conversation. Do not let them try to pigeonhole you any other way. If you've got to be a little aggressive, maybe you got to be a lot of aggressive. Maybe it's okay in your household. Maybe communicating. In some households, some yelling is just considered communication. In others, raising your voice at all is like horrifying. So wherever it works for you, but you can have, I'll just give a couple quick examples. You know, you could have a relative that says X, Y, or Z about something that's anti-white. You could be right there at the Thanksgiving table. You could be grilling or whatever you're doing, and you can say, well, you know, Betty, that really sounds anti-white. And anti-whiteism is a despicable ideology. I don't think that about you. So I hope that's not your, I hope you don't actually have a genuine anti-white position. You could say in conversation, you could say, all this is happening because of the anti-white narrative. I mean, they learn it in school. They learn it at university. They talk about it on the news. It's in all the movies. Everything is anti-white narrative. Countless iterations, right? You could say that. You could say they are victimizing, the anti-whites are victimizing Western kind in every single Western country. We are being victimized in every country. They're going to get it. They're going to know. You're going to say, finally, you could say, there is so much white erasure going on right now. This news piece of story or that news piece. Maybe you got a relative who is a conservative or a Republican, and they're going to complain about how this inventor of X, Y, or Z has now been replaced by a new inventor who is not white. And they say, I can't believe they're doing this to the text, but this is, and of course, if they're a typical conservative or Republican, they're going to be running away from race, and they're going to be saying something like, this is all about the honesty in education. And how are we, so golly, John, how are we supposed to be a good country if we can't have honesty in education? And then that's when you drop it on. Well, it's the people doing it are anti-white. That's white erasure. That's happening everywhere. It's white erasure. They changed the road signs. White erasure. They pull the statues down. It's white erasure. You know, this is happening everywhere. It's white erasure. And then folks, depending upon who you're talking to, you can walk away from it. If the person's kind of really nervous about it, you can, and I don't mean literally, you can literally walk away, but you can also just go on to another subject. You just drop the powerful concept in their lap. You watch their eyes go, oh my gosh. And then you can just move on to another concept, move on to another conversation. Take a look at your GoingFree manuals. And if you got a particular relative that you know that a certain topic might come up, look in here, look for the MP that you think they might use, and then look for a meme curative retort. Maybe there's something in here you could use very easily against them that would shut them up first time in history. Like one that I love to give away is, it's not the similarities that make us the same, but it's the differences that make us different. Use that, and that shuts down a massive percentage of anti-white arguments, because they want to say that everything is the exact same, except white people are not quite as good at this or that or the other thing. So you easily put a period to the end of that story by saying it's not the similarities that make us the same, it's the differences that make us different. And happy birthday, happy Thanksgiving to every single one of you. I love you all. It's been a joy the past year. It's been a struggle, but it's been a joy, even going without sleep, as I am wont to do, because there's so much to do. And nonetheless, though, it is a joy. Happy Thanksgiving. And now I will take down the happy birthday banner that is on my StreamYard here so that I never read that to you again in the midst of saying something else. Happy Thanksgiving, folks. I love you. Roll out.